let's get right into this segment. So, as I'm sure most of you guys have been keeping up, but if you guys haven't, Ohio State on Saturday ended up losing to Michigan. This is the fourth time in the last 5 years that Ohio State has lost to Michigan. They are every single year for the last 4 years they've lost to Michigan, and it's been rough. It's been really rough for Ohio State and for a lot of their fans because it's like every single year they have a fantastic roster, and every single year they just blow it in the most important game of their season, which is going up against Michigan. Probably one of the most popular rivalry matchups, if not the most popular rivalry matchup in the history of college football. Everyone loves this game. And for several years, the Buckeyes have always been the heavy favorites, and in almost every single one of those years, they've ended up winning in every single matchup. But the last 4 years, with Ryan Day as their coach, they have not been able to win in this very big game. And for most of the time, especially like the last 3 years, not necessarily like this game, but like the last 3 years where they lost to Michigan, they ultimately lost hopes of competing in the national playoffs, like where it was just only 4 teams would be able to get selected. Usually, Ohio State would be the favorites to get in that tournament, but after losing to Michigan, then they would just be cut off from the list entirely, and Michigan would be added into the college football playoffs instead, taking Ohio State's spot. So it's like Ohio State, they maintain their dominance for most of the year, and but they cannot win in that important game. And here it's even more damning because Michigan was unranked going into this matchup. So the last few years Michigan was ranked, so it was a very heated matchup, and no one really thought there was going to be an easy winner for any of these games. But in this one, Ohio State was an incredibly heavy favorite to win this matchup, and they blew it. They ultimately blew it. The final score was 13-10, and throughout the entirety of the game, like Ohio State, they just wanted to run the ball, and it confused me a lot because they had so many weapons in the passing game. Maybe it was because it was super windy and they didn't really want to throw the ball in that wind, and that makes sense. The kicker on Ohio State also missed a couple of field goals because of the wind, but at the end of the day, they just wanted to run the ball, and it really did not. It wasn't Ohio State's offense. It was weird. Like they wanted to beat Michigan at their own game, if that makes sense, because in almost every single one of these games against Ohio State, Michigan constantly runs the ball. I remember the first time that they won in this 4 year streak, Michigan had like two running backs that had over 120 yards in rushing, I believe. They were just killing them on the run. It was incredible. I think they had 300 yards plus on the ground against Ohio State in that game. And ever since that 1 year when they just completely destroyed them in the run game, they've just been beating them ever since. It's a bugaboo for them. It's unfortunate. I think, and I said this before last week, if Ryan Day did not win in this matchup, then he would get fired, and I think that's eventually going to happen after this season because despite losing to Michigan, they still have a shot of being in the college football playoffs. They just will not host a game in the college football playoffs. But regardless, again, this is just a huge missed opportunity for Ohio State. This should have been an easy win for them, but it wasn't. And eventually, things got out of hand. Things got out of hand very quickly. So you can see this was an image in like the game, the aftermath of the game, and you see the Ohio State player. He's trying to yank the Michigan flag because the last, basically in almost every single college rivalry game, whenever an away team goes into your home stadium and beats you, they usually grab their flag and they plant it in the middle of the stadium. Michigan did this last year. Baker Mayfield was infamous for doing this I believe it was also against Ohio State. And Lil Fettuccine's in the chat saying planting a flag is OD. I don't think it is. I think it's genuine. It's genuinely just a tradition. It's like it's what you do. You get the for lack of a better term, you get the bragging rights because this is a big game. Both of you don't like each other and you both go up against each other to try and beat each other. So once you do that, and when you do that on the opponent's turf, it's like, this is my turf now. This is my house. We beat you in your house. This is my house. It's like, it's just a thing. And it's something that has been in college for a very long time, actually. So I don't see a single problem with planting the flag at all. The way I see it, Ohio State players, they just have to learn how to lose. It's genuinely, that's my opinion. That's what I think. Because yes, you can make the argument that the brawl between the two teams wouldn't have ensued. Both of the teams got fined $100,000, by the way. But the brawl wouldn't have ensued if he didn't plant the flag. I totally understand that. But the brawl also would not ensue if that one Ohio State player that took the flag wasn't so angry, right? Like, I genuinely, like, you just have to learn how to lose. It's obviously it's going to sting that that's what they're doing on your home field, but that's what happens when you lose the game. You don't want them to plant the flag in your home. Don't lose the game. You had 40 plus minutes to defend your home turf. You had 40 plus minutes to win the game and prevent them from doing that. And here you are, like, in the aftermath of the game, trying to start a fight. The way I see it, it's like there is no clean way to stop anyone from doing this, right? If you want to stop Michigan from planting the flag, then the only way to legitimately stop them is to beat them. Because if you try to stop them, then a fight's going to happen. It's the same, it's a similar concept with trying to storm, either storming the field or storming a basketball game. It's like you're not going to be able to stop that cleanly unless you. In fact, this was so dirty that one of the police officers actually had to. I don't know what it was. I think it was pepper spray. It could have been mace. I don't know, but they sprayed some of the players in the eye, and even the home police, they were like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" So excessive force maybe, but usually that's going to be the outcome whenever somebody starts a brawl like that. And it's like, just learn how to lose, honestly. Like, you had so much time to defend your home field and you were unable to do that. It's your fault that they ended up planting the flag. Learn how to lose and just be a man about it. Just be good game. You earned the right to celebrate. The end. Because it's not like Ohio State wouldn't have done that had this game been in Michigan. Especially after Michigan did that the previous season in Ohio State's or the last few seasons in Ohio State's turf. If Ohio State would have won this game and if this game would have been played at Michigan, Ohio State would have done that regardless whether they were ranked or not. They would have done that, especially after losing to them for 3 years. They would have done that. Like, you got to learn how to lose. You got to know how to lose, and you got to know when to pick your fights. That's something that should not happen. That's a whole scuffle just because somebody was crying over the result of the game. It should not have happened. I completely agree, but they should not get rid of the flag. Like, that entire ritual, that entire tradition, whatever you want to call it, they should not get rid of that just because somebody on Ohio State just didn't know how to lose. Like, it's that simple. Like, it's really just that simple. Lil Fettuccine, he says, that's like telling someone to take off their shoes before entering their house. Maybe that's just I'm not going to finish that sentence, but it's like telling someone to take off their shoes before entering their house. That's not the same thing. It's really not the same thing at all. Because, like, taking off your shoes before entering the house, I feel like that's a pretty normal thing to ask. It depends on what carpet you're using. I don't think that's anything like that at all. And it's just like, you should not have this kind of reaction just because you lost. Put the effort on the field when you're actually playing the game. Put that all that emotion and all that disdain and all that hate into the game. Like people, and this wasn't just for between Ohio State and Michigan players. There were actually several other rivalry games that ended in a scuffle because the opponent would end up planting the flag. And it's like, it seems like these generation of players, they don't know how to lose. And I understand losing it stings, but it's like you have to learn how to be a good sport about it, and you have to be professional about it. I mean, do you guys think Michael Jordan liked losing to the Pistons every single year? Because I guarantee you he could not stand losing to them. But in every single series that he ended up losing, he shook every single player's hand. It didn't matter that he did not like them. It didn't matter that he didn't like their attitude, this, that, or the other. It didn't matter that he didn't like their traditions, whatever it was, or their play style. He still shook their hand at the end of the game. And, I mean, the Pistons, they walked out on them because they were that embarrassed after getting swept. And that's just a whole other debate to bring up. But it's like, he shook their hands. He did not like losing, but he knew how to lose, and he took it with responsibility, and he knew what he needed to do the next season to get better. So that sort of mentality, it seems like it was lost over on Saturday with some other teams. And I feel like these guys, they just got to know when to lose. They got to know how to handle losing. And I know it's difficult for Ohio State because it's like they've lost to this team 4 years in a row now, not to mention that they're a program that just barely loses, so it's like you can argue that they don't really know how to lose, but you gotta know. You just have to, and you have to maintain your professionalism, and you gotta just let it be. You have to just let it be. But that's just my take on it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you guys would rather not want the planting of the flag to get banned, if you want it to get banned, if you don't really care about it, or any of your thoughts on the game that took place. But that's it for the first segment. So now we're going to go ahead and go into the second segment where we talk about the Bills matching up against the 49ers in another snow game late at night. So we'll talk about that right after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. Some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign,